Good morning, everyone. We are hearing from the Department of Human Services this morning. And would you like to start off? We have here Senator San Buenaventura and myself, and more will come. So you could start off also introducing yourself and also your members of your staff that are here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Senator. Kathy Betts, Director for the Department of Human Services. Thank you for having us here today. And first of all, I'd like to thank you and this committee's for your support and dedication to DHS over the years. We thank you for continuing to support our staff and operational needs as we continue to modernize our systems and make government more efficient for the state and our residents. Chair and Vice Chair, if okay with you, I can introduce our leaders who are behind me today. And then if also okay with you in terms of format and how we go forward with process, I'd like our attached agencies to go ahead and present their budget requests first, if that's acceptable. Okay.
Whatever you like.
Sure. So we have Deputy Trista Spear. Thank you for your support in restoring our second deputy. Deputy Joseph Campos, Scott Morishige, our BESD administrator, Daisy Hartsfield, our SSD administrator, Judy Moore Peterson, MedQuest administrator, and we have various folks from our budget team here and homeless programs office, Harold Rahim, Mark Patterson, warden at Kawailoa. Who am I missing? Leah Diaz, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, as well as all of our staff offices and folks from Human Resources, Budget and Finance, and our fiscal folks here too. Morning. So if okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and start with Hakeem Wansafi from Hawaii Public Housing Authority with his budget requests.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Chair, members of the committee. Hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. Hakeem with the Hawaii Public Housing Authority. Thank you. You are familiar with our agency. Do you would like me to give a very brief thing that we do or just go to the budget?
Yeah, just to budget.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So to summarize our request, on page 22 and the very top of page 23, we're requesting an addition of 2 W-funded positions for our development. As you know, we embarked on a development of 10,000 units. These are important for us to keep the progress going. Thank you. On HMS 220, adding 3 housing specialists, 1. This is only one of them we need A-funded. As you know, we only have 1 A-funded position out of the 400 positions. The other ones coming from N-funded and W-funded. This one is necessary so we are able to take care of the elderly areas with our state properties. The other one on transferring 13 positions and another 3 positions from 229, one of the programs, to 220. The reason for that, the HUD has established a new inspection system. So we're trying to get these folks from a 229 where the admin folks and put them right in the properties. So we are always there at the properties, both caring for the buildings and caring for our tenants. It's just an even swap. And requesting to add $400,000 for the rent supplement. So we are able to continue serving the existing people. And the good news also, thank you for the $6 million of last year. We're going to start processing, Catholic Charities will start processing the middle of next month. And we expect to serve a few hundred people in there. The final thing we're requesting is 229 is to convert and redescribe 1 N-funded position and 1 W position into a permanent. It's been very difficult to advertise as temporary and hire the folks. On the CIP, we're requesting a $10 million for repair and maintenance. The governor budget included $22 million for School Street redevelopment. But since then, since the budget was done, we have gone to HHFDC and we have received the funding that is necessary. So we have asked the governor if that 22 million can be put through a governor's message to further other projects that would result in 2,550 units. And that's our budget request. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Members, questions, Mr. Wansafi?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes.
So Hakeem, I'm aware that 2 projects in Lahaina was destroyed by the fire, resulting in displacement of 60 families. In your CIP request, is there a request to rebuild those 2 projects or?
No.
Doesn't sound like it, there is.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not
reason-
sure why.
Yeah, the reason we didn't put it, those are, both of them are federal properties and we were fully insured. So we expect to, in fact, next week, we meet with the insurance folks and they're gonna let us know how much they're gonna replace, for those buildings. We thought to wait to see how much funding is available through the insurance and then come with a request once we know what we're gonna do there. That's what we did submit. Please do know, because they're federal properties, we received a tenant protection vouchers from the federal government where we took those folks and put them in different housing. Some of them we also house in our vacant units. We used the emergency proclamation. We quickly turned them and those people are housed.
Okay, thank you, because that answers my second question, was
Oh.
whether or not any of the rent supplement monies, it doesn't sound like it,
No,
was used to house the 60 families that were displaced, but federal
Yeah.
monies, right?
yeah, we didn't need a rent supplement. We have the actual voucher that we can pay market and the federal government pays market.
Until the projects are created, or is there a time limit as to those vouchers?
They will choose. They can keep the voucher if they like, or when we build something, they're welcome to come back. They have the first right of return.
But it doesn't time out.
It doesn't time out.
Okay,
That's for long, and they pay 30% of their income. So if the income is 0, they pay 0.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? I have several. The 400,000 that's in the rental assistance program, what is your waiting list? And I always ask you this question, but what is the waiting list? Because we're having people, especially the elderly, moving into homelessness instead of, housing. So I'm just wondering what the numbers are.
We have about 2,000 folks that are on the wait list.
Wow.
It would take.
And so
what we've
you only
noticed-
house like 213 with your.
Yeah, that's all we're housing. So that 1.5 million houses for a year, about 213 folks. But what we're doing, we are giving our wait list to the Catholic charities to contact those people first, to serve them for at least 1 year with the 6 million that you gave us last year. So at least we'll wipe the wait list and then we'll report to you next year as to the success. And at that time, you decide if you'd like to continue.
So do you have counseling so you can move them out into more permanent housing out in the community and then, keep rolling people in, or?
Yeah,
is that-
we try. The availability of inventory is very terrible. And because these people are already housed, they just come short. We feel it's an excellent program. You keep them housed and you give them the difference. And I think about 70-something% are elderly and disabled. So it's very, very much needed.
But those numbers, Chair, those numbers are statewide, though, yeah.
We
They specifically, so.
That one we-
200.
just here on Oahu, this number that I've given just here in Oahu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to follow up on this new assessment, the Inspire.
Ah.
So you have a program now that the feds require, and you are having to inspect and improve, I guess, the safety and the condition of all your units. Is that federally funded, or do we put state monies, or is that 10 million that you're asking for? Is that for that, or do the feds pay? Does HUD pay for that? Because they require more of you, yeah?
Yeah, in the most part, the federal government pays us for the operation side of it. The appropriation from the federal government for the repair and maintenance and the upkeep, it just depends on the appropriation of Congress. Then they prorate that. And that's why most housing authorities, they have a backlog. Our housing authority has more than $750 million worth of backlog. The money that we get from the state, thank you, is to be able not to wait for federal money and keep the units vacant for 2 or 3 or something years. It accomplishes 2 things. One, it houses the people, which is more important.
Mhm.
But the second, the subsidies that we get from the federal government, it's only based on occupied units. So when we occupy that, we get the subsidies.
So So this new standard, is that
Oh, the new
very higher than what you have currently and they're requiring is unfunded mandate kind of thing or?
It is. It's more strict and the concentration on the inside the unit. The previous inspection system had almost equal weight, was 40 points for the outside and the grounds and everything else. That's why we had those positions grouped together so we can send them in group to do all of that. Now the Inspire concentration is more on the inside of the units. That's why we're requesting that we transfer those positions to the property so they can have a continuous repair and maintenance.
And one last question I have is, I like the senior housing in Lanakila. And so you're saying that the funds, the 20 million now is going into a governor's message for other projects. So do you have a plan for the other projects?
Yes, so HHDC did give us the funding needed for School Street. So School Street, we had the groundbreaking, it's moving forward, thank God. So we're asking for that 22 million, we ask the governor through governor message that he's considering right now. It's basically to put a 4.4 million for Kapa'a homes for the 124 units. To put a 4.6 million for Lanakila homes for 250 units.
Is that the same Lanakila project? What is that for additional?
Yes, it's Lanakila in Hilo.
Oh, Hilo.
Yeah, the one in Hilo, sorry. And for Mayor Wright Phase 2 and 3, 8 million there for 1,550 units. And the other 5 million for pre-development for School Street Phase 2 and 3 for 550 units. So that's our request.
It's going to be in the governor's message, the list. Can you give that to us?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other questions?
Yeah, I just have one more question.
Yes, of course.
So you had 400,000 additional ask for rental supplement. So does that increase the 230 people?
Just asking Jim.
Grant that, or it just retains the 230 people?
Correct. It just retains the existing folks that we have, yes.
So why didn't you guys ask it in the budget instead of making?
We did in
an
the past, it
additional
wasn't
request?
added, yeah.
Okay, okay. I think Chair De La Cruz may have questions on table 6.
No, we should just go over table 6 first, because if we run out of time,
Okay,
then we should get to the budget additions first.
sure, that's fine, Chair.
Is going to do administrative.
We were doing attached agencies first, and then I was going to go into the core of the budget. But we can go straight through HMS numerically if that's preferred.
Yeah, that's probably easier.
Okay.
That way we
Okay,
can just
thank
check
you.
it off and then.
Okay.
If people
Yep.
have questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so HPHA was 220 and 222. I'm going along on table 6, page 1. HMS 224, which is Homeless Programs Office. As I mentioned before, a lot of this is housekeeping. So this is additional federal fund ceiling according to our directives from BNF to increase the ceiling increase by 74,000. HMS 224 is also
The first one,
224.
220,
220.
table 6.
Additional federal funds are expected next year, increase to 7.5 million.
That's 220, which was HPHA that
Oh,
just presented, Hakeem just presented.
okay, so what, the federal funds are coming in for, what is another grant or?
For increased vouchers for the Section 8 vouchers and for public housing.
Yeah, that's for the 60 families that were displaced. Right.
So we anticipate, we anticipate getting additional funding. We're going to be fully funded for the vouchers that we have.
Okay, is this ongoing or just 1 year?
I think it will be ongoing because the HUD gives us the funding based on the previous year. So
Okay.
this one here, once it's locked, next year we'll have at least that, unless if they have additional money from the Congress, then we get that and ask for.
And how much do you spend now?
For the Section 8, we receive about $34 million for the Section 8, about $46 million for PPCA, that's contract base, and about 34 million or so for the public housing component.
And then this 7 would be on top of all that.
That is correct.
Wow, it's a lot, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any questions on that?
No.
Yeah, no, they're all gonna stay. I just want to get through table 6 because we got session today. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
So, we did 224, that chair for this progress office. That's the ceiling increase at the very bottom of page 1.
No, but the positions that here,
Start at the top. Sure. So HPHA, Senator, so I'm gonna allow, the ones on this.
Just try to.
so just maybe you can take the next 5 lines on time. What are the project management projects and all the new positions?
Okay, so for the first one on
That's what.
I'm sorry,
No, no.
220, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Second.
Yeah, so the 13 positions, we're trying to push from 229, move them to 220. The reason is because of Inspire's a new inspection system we had. Instead of keeping them under 229 where the admin is, we're trying to put them 220 where the actual properties are. So that's the transfer of the 13 positions. Also, the transfer of the 3 positions, maintenance workers, is for the same reason. We
okay,
just
so
put it
now they're centralized and they're gonna be
Correct.
decentralized.
Correct.
Okay, next.
Next is the 3 permanent positions, housing specialist one, because we need that for services. We're asking for 1A funded and 2N funded. Currently, we only have 1 position that's A funded, and we have 864 units that are state, and we're not able to use our federally funded position for the state.
Okay. And no vacancies,
I'm sorry.
no vacancies.
No, because we don't have the position, the A funded. We only have 1 that's filled.
Okay,
The next one, Chair, is the 3 permanent positions, maintenance workers ones. We have the A fund due to the bargaining agreement, but we don't have the actual positions. So we're asking to convert from W to A. And currently we checked, there's approximately 332,000 there.
okay,
These are needed just to expedite.
okay.
So thank you. 220, we talked about the federal increase ceiling. We talked about the 400,000 to maintain the existing rent.
No, I'm just going over table
Just
6.
table 6, okay.
Because that's all we need. So now we're at 222. Increase federal funding ceiling 4 million, right?
Yes, thank you.
4.7.
So 22, we talked about that, for the ceiling. And 3 permanent housing positions and converting 3 permanent building maintenance workers positions, 220 to.
No, wait, I thought we went through all that. So 222.
Looking at.
Increase federal funding.
Oh, sorry, 222 was the increase.
Yeah,
Of the
okay, no.
400.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and the next one.
The next one is, that's the increase of
That's the
ceiling as
400.
well.
Okay, 224.
224 is not.
224 is Homeless Programs Office. We're requesting additional federal fund ceiling in the amount of $74,000 in the ceiling increase based on differences and comparisons between Act 164 for FY24 and the anticipated funds for FY25. Also for 224, that's the request for additional funds to fund.
No, so the increase is 74,000. That's
74
one time only?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have to increase the ceiling permanently, just 1 year.
In the biennium, correct.
Okay,
Permanent recurring? Okay, that's a permanent recurring request. Sorry, Chair.
so the feds are gonna continue to give that ongoing?
Yes,
Okay.
HPO anticipates that.
Okay,
Also for 224, the request for 1.3 in FY25 in A funds, that's for the increase in homeless contract providers. As you recall, Chair, last session, we talked about the True Cost Coalition. You were supportive of increasing contract costs for our providers, and this is something that we remain committed to for the department. Moving over to 229, and those three requests are HPHA as well, regarding their civil service and their housing development positions.
My question's on the 1.3 to the million of contract providers. Any of that coming from Ohana funds?
No,
Ohana
that would be A funds,
Okay,
Chair.
these are A funds.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, so
But we're-
no, this is a new budget request.
Also, in
So,
addition
yeah,
to what we
this-
already have. Okay.
Yeah, all of these are additions.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, the Ohana zone funds are in HMS 777.
But these are just for contract, all the contracts in general, right, that are not, have been stagnant.
Correct.
Okay,
That represents 5% increase in contracts.
but the real cost is,
I think the 20% was around 5.3.
okay,
Chair 229 is converting one position from temporary to permanent. It's very difficult to get that decision.
Okay. Yeah. that's W funds anyway. It's W anyway, right?
Yes. We're also requesting for our development to continue the 10,000 unit endeavor, two temporary positions W funded and two FTEs and funded.
Yeah, no, well, we can skip the trade-offs.
Okay. Thank you.
Because
So-
that's even,
Pardon?
it's even.
Yeah, correct. Thanks, Chair. Moving on to HMS 236, that's BESD, that's adding funds for the Pohulani lease. As you may recall, we came in for a request on funding last session as well. That used to be a building that was operated by DAGS. It's a processing center for BESD, so financial benefits. And it's a part of a private lease now. So we're requesting $490,000 for FY25 and A funds to pay for the lease there. Chair, we continue to look for other rental space for that facility. However, we have not been fruitful in looking for it and finding another lease space.
How big is that? What's the size of the,
I don't know the size, Chair. Scott Morishige, do you know the size of Pohulani? How many employees do you have there?
It's one of our larger processing centers because it serves all of East Honolulu going out to, Hawai'i area.
but nobody visits, it's just processing center.
Oh,
Oh,
that's where
it-
clients go.
Oh,
Walk in
okay, I
directly,
see.
so we need the physical office space
Okay.
because there's some people aren't able to access us by phone or online.
I see. So that might get kind of stuck. So if we can't find any state property in that area for that population, there's no option but to lease.
Correct.
Correct.
Moving on to HMS 237, that's BESD, also employment and training. That's a request to increase the additional federal ceiling by roughly 1 million.
Okay, so these next three, they're all because we're just getting increased federal funds.
Correct.
So this is ongoing, all three.
All three. Correct.
So permanent ceiling increase.
Correct.
Okay,
Moving on to HMS 301, thank you for your support on the SCASA bills in the past. Last session, the SCASA ceiling was changed in the statute, but not in the bill. So we need it raised to
Good
5
point.
million so that we can further draw down 4E funds from the federal government that are reimbursed to the state. And then we further invest those into prevention services for child welfare.
Yeah, I was confused about that because I remember we passed it. Okay, thank you.
We revisit it every year, Vice Chair or Chair. So it's always got a new wrinkle to it. Childcare, HMS 302, another federal fund ceiling in the amount of roughly $98,000.
and that's ongoing too.
Correct. Let's see. HMS 303, which is Child Protective Services. another additional federal fund ceiling for FY 25 in the amount of $690,000 in funds. For HMS 401, that's MedQuest. This is for the HCBS rate increase based on the rate studies that this legislature has approved over the past few years. So that's a request for 5.75 in A funds for a corresponding 9.77.
So that's matching.
Correct.
We have to spend that to get the federal
Correct.
match. Okay.
Also, HMS 4001 is MedQuest, another federal fund ceiling increase. For HMS 501, that's Office of Youth Services, our executive. Sure.
One.
Of the federal fund ceiling increase.
Well, you know, if someone has an answer for the Manago purchase in Kona, how much are we expanding for the purchase of that property?
I'm sorry, Senator, for the Monago purpose.
That's supportive housing, that's workforce
Yeah.
development,
Oh, okay, not here then, yeah.
could be HHFDC.
Okay, because you have
Yeah.
it under,
I think it's
for one.
HPHA.
okay.
Let's debate. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Chair. HMS 501 is Office of Youth Services, which is also an attached agency to DHS. This is a request for 1 million in A funds for investing in safe houses and also mental health services for our youth. Generally and historically, OAS has not had contracts for mental health services, direct services to provide mental health support services. And so this would be the first of its kind for OAS to have this type of contract. As you know, CDC issued a report, I think it was last session, showing
This one, yeah.
the increase in mental health services and needs, increase in anxiety and depression for kids, especially in Hawaii. So this would address those needs, hopefully.
How is this coordinated with Office of Wellness
I'm sorry.
501?
It's Office of Youth Services, so it's specifically towards the youth. And I know Tia is here.
No, is it coordinated at least? No? Shouldn't be? No. At least in an alignment. Yeah.
Right. We work
Okay.
really closely with OWR, so I think we can do that.
Okay.
HYCF, HMS 503, add funds for HYCF facilities. That's 260,000 in A funds. This is for the residential programs.
Does that include RISE?
RISE has a lease on campus at
Okay.
Kauai Loa, so it doesn't necessarily cover. So there's an agreement with a lease, and RISE has their own budget.
Okay, they don't come in on an RFP from you folks. No.
I don't believe so. They might go in on GIAs, but
Okay,
I'm not privy to that.
okay. No, I see Mark Patterson saying no.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. For HMS 802, that's Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, another increase in federal funding.
Yeah.
And then HMS 902.
So we can skip all the trade-offs.
Okay. Positions, yeah.
And then just tell us which program ID to pick it up.
So I'm still on HMS 902. These are the on top of page 6, Chair. Adding positions, adding FTE to increase the dentist from quarter time to half time.
Oh, okay.
So not a trade-off per se, but a small amount requested there. HMS 902 MedQuest, then the next requests converting to FTE from temp to perm in the health analytics office. And then 903 at the bottom of the page is BESD adjusting ongoing M&O funding for the BES, which is our second prong of our modernization system that is still ongoing and set to go live later this year.
That's all in-house or you're working with OTS?
We have a contracted provider for the BES.
Oh, okay. Direct from the department.
No, it's a private contracted provider that we've had for probably the last.
The department contract. You're
Correct,
not
correct.
OTS.
Correct.
Okay.
Let's see. HMS 903, also BESD increased, federal ceiling increase by 7,000. And then HMS 904, as you recall, there was a bill last session. So that's to increase the funds in the actual budget for the second deputy director and the private secretary. I didn't get to mention this earlier, but we were the first state in the nation to apply for the FEMA Disaster Case Management Program grant, and we received it. So we are requesting for corresponding A funds to help support our emergency response. As you know, one of our goals has been to build that capacity and infrastructure within the department, because we are faced with so many disasters in the department that we have to respond to and are glad to respond to, but we do need that capacity and infrastructure. So we're requesting 13.37 million in A funds to assist with the disaster case management for survivors and permanency services for our families on Maui that need our help.
And you have a breakdown for that?
I do.
You can just send it to us.
Sure. So it's roughly the actual DCM FEMA grant is roughly around 17 million in federal funds, and we're requesting 13.3. One of the issues that we've had to navigate over the last 6 months is ensuring that we're equitable in the way that we treat all of our families. So whether you're undocumented or a compact resident that would not necessarily be eligible for federal funds, or a 100% non-citizen family, that's something that we've kept top of mind. As you know, we've administered the TANF Reserve Fund for the non-recurring short-term program for families. And that really allowed us to elevate those families that would potentially be ignored by various other traditional funding sources.
Is this 13 million going to be reimbursed by the feds, or is this in addition to what?
It's in addition to.
So is the state money being?
Correct.
Dr. Kim.
Do we know how many DACA families or registrants we have here?
I'm not sure about DACA families, Senator. I can check on that. In terms of undocumented, what we found in the aftermath of the disaster was that there were a lot of families that were undocumented that were hesitant to come forward for services. So we've done a lot of outreach with those populations to ensure that they know that they are eligible for our state-funded programs. As well, we've recognized that there have been an increase in 100% non-citizen families, especially in the area that
So
was
do you have
impacted.
a number so far what you're serving?
Pardon?
If you have a number that you're serving, if you have an idea, I mean, you can submit that to.
There's roughly 1,000 households that are ineligible for FEMA right now that we're serving with our state programs.
Okay, thank you.
So they would be
Awesome.
covered by this amount. So they would be
Morning,
covered by
Chair.
this amount.
Pardon?
The families that are not covered by FEMA would be covered by this amount.
The A.
Correct. So just similar, if you think about how we have the temporary assistance for other needy families and the TANF, right? We've always invested the state funds to ensure that all of our families are covered. So this is similar type of concept.
Sure.
So by putting this in, are we able to draw down more Fed monies, more federal TANF monies?
This shouldn't go in the base though, right?
Which funding?
The
I'm sorry.
13 million,
I'm sorry.
the 13 million.
We're not requesting it in the base. No, no,
Okay.
no, Chair.
Okay.
We may come back for more emergency management based solely dedicated positions, because we have one in HMS 904. So it's all been ad hoc in terms of emergency response for the rest of our team responding to Maui.
So the 6 end positions, that's one time only too.
That is for a duration of 3 years. The end positions, those are the ones that are funded 100% and funded by the
Okay, that's the
FEMA
12 million.
grant. So it's for direct services and for those positions.
Okay.
Chair, quick question. So,
Sorry.
Director, with the two federal public housing units that were burned, were you guys able to help them or get them into housing or long-term housing?
Senator, I believe those were the Public Housing Authority properties that Executive Director Wansafi was speaking to earlier. Those were fully insured, as he noted, that they'd be able to get federal benefits. And I believe that he was able to relocate those families to other housing. We've also been, this is just as an aside, but we've been heavily involved in the housing efforts on Maui, Launiopoko, also the Pu'unua o Nene, the homeless shelter for the pre-disaster homeless that were not covered by FEMA as well. So we've been doing a lot of housing efforts.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry. When you got the disaster TANF monies, were you able to draw down more federal funds? Because
So-
there's that,
So what we were able to do with the 100 million in TANF reserves, we secured a commitment from Hawaii Community Foundation to cover the families that would not be covered by those TANF reserves. Those are the families that would be 100% non-citizen, undocumented, et cetera. Those folks that would not be covered by the TANF
so you
program.
couldn't draw down any more then?
No.
Okay. Okay.
What do we have? Much more do we have in the
In the reserves, last I checked, this was before we committed the 100 million. There was around 380 million in the TANF reserve, but that was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, Senator, but I can find out. Scott, you know.
You should-
On over 400 million. Reserve. Yeah, but we're
Speaking to the mic.
we're working on a number of initiatives to spend down the TANF reserve. So we have programs that were basically general funds were provided in prior sessions for us to assist with housing subsidy through the TANF program, as well as exit and retention bonuses for people exiting TANF, so on. So we're making a concerted effort to continue to spend down with reserves.
Because COFA doesn't qualify either, right? To draw down.
Yeah, generally, a household has to be a citizen to qualify for the Maui TANF program. They have to have at least one US citizen in the household to receive payments for like rent, mortgage, or so on. And for the entirely non-citizen households, like Director Betts was saying, we were able to get the commitment from Hawaii Community Foundation for 5 million.
You wanted to go back to public housing?
Yeah, I had a question about KPT.
Yeah.
Director, I had a conversation with DOT regarding the broadband for the different housing.
Yeah.
And KPT was not included because of demolition. Can you explain to us about the cost and the demolition?
Okay, thank you. So we start in at the end of this year, we start in phase 1, 304 units at KPT, replacing 167 units with a total of 604. Phase 1, the 304 units starts at the end of this year, which requires demolition of those 7-decade-old, the ones in the bottom, and then build there. And when we build it, it's going to be fully equipped with everything that is needed for broadband, and everything will be wired.
Okay, so, and what's the estimated time completion?
It takes 2 years.
2 years.
Correct.
But what about the high rises though? They're not going to have internet capability?
I believe they will. I can talk to the owners of that property. We hold the lease, but I can talk to them for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Hashimoto.
Hakeem, since you're there, can you give me a explanation of the 22 million that you asked the governor to redirect to your other projects? What is the thinking on giving you a straight appropriation instead of, because at some point that money can revolve back, right? So are we intending this money to revolve back of the 22, or you just want us to give you straight out cash for that?
So the money will be used for the pre-development, and at closing, that money will revert back to the state. And the state will decide where they want to spend it.
So, but through what mechanism though? Are you thinking DERF or?
This will be a direct appropriation to the HPHA.
Right, but when you get that money back, where does it go?
Does it go general fund?
It'll go to the general funds. It'll go to general funds, and we'll come back to the, we'll come back to you to let us know if you want to spend it again on something else.
So what is your thinking of getting the direct appropriation versus going to HHFDC? How much time are you thinking this will save you?
Well, it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of time. First, we have to apply and wait and compete. By doing this directly, it prioritizes those projects just to move forward without having to wait.
So what timing wise, what's your savings?
I can put some timeline and get back to you. I will assume probably at least 9 months to a year.
Okay, we're good to see that.
For you.
Any other questions? No. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I'm done.